For decades, they were the perennial underachievers, blessed with talent but consistently falling short. But in 2008, Spain conquered Europe and left football transfixed. 2 years later, they were champions of the world.
It seemed impossible that a Spaniard would ever hold that trophy.
And victory at Euro 2012 confirmed La Roja as one of football's greatest ever international teams.
Luis Aragonés said, "You don't play finals, you win them."
In the last 16 of the 2006 World Cup, Zinedine Zidane completed a 3-1 victory for France over Spain, condemning the Spanish to tournament elimination once again. The 1964 European Championship on home soil had been Spain's only triumph on the senior international stage. Their 2-1 victory over the Soviet Union coming in a 4-team tournament. Traditionally, the country gave more precedence to the success of its major club sides, such as Real Madrid and Barcelona. But heading into Euro 2008, the man in charge of the national team was still Luis Aragonés, a man with a wealth of experience at club level, but under pressure following the World Cup exit. The 69-year-old, however, was looking to adjust the footballing philosophy of the national team. And he had the players to make it work.
Spain have always had a passing game, but this involved playing the ball into wide areas and crossing it into good finishers like Fernando Morientes and players like him. However, Luis Aragonés decided to change the style of play, no longer employing this idea of crossing from those wide areas. It was then when he decided to put his faith into the smaller players.
The Euro 2008 team was based around ball-playing midfielders looking to supply the potent strike force of Fernando Torres and David Villa. And they began the tournament in style with a 4-1 victory over Russia. A classy team performance saw Villa help himself to 3 goals.
It was one of the happiest days of my life. We knew that at the start of the tournament, Russia would be a tricky opponent. So for us to win 4-1, and for me to score a hat-trick, well, it wasn't easy.
The second game against Sweden was heading for a 1-1 draw. Until David Villa intervened in the 92nd minute.
You think in tenths of a second. It might end well or not so well, but luckily we won it right at the end.
He's so dangerous. He's a clever player. He reads the game very well, and is the kind of forward that can score a goal out of nothing. And it was his moment. Wherever he struck the ball from, he scored.
A 2-1 victory over reigning champions Greece saw Spain top their group. They then faced World Cup holders Italy, a nation they'd never defeated in 5 attempts at tournaments.
Historically, Spain could never get past Italy in a tournament. We had lost 2 or 3 times in the quarter-finals against them. So psychologically, that was a big moment for us.
The match was decided on penalties, the first 3 of which were successful before Daniele De Rossi stepped up to face Iker Casillas.
In the Champions League, he missed a penalty by putting the ball too hard to the right, so I believed he would naturally put it the same side, but strike it better. That's what I thought at that moment, anyway.
Marcos Senna edged Spain in front. But Dani Guizar wasn't so successful. Antonio Di Natale had the opportunity to level the score, but Casillas had other ideas.
Casillas is a great captain. He's a player with bags of experience, not just for Real Madrid, one of the best teams in the world, but also for the national team. I think the role of a captain in a club or the national team is very important.
21-year-old Cesc Fabregas was left with a kick to win it.
It was just total relief. We really wanted to beat them, so when Fabregas scored, it was just a party.
Fatalism had been replaced with optimism. In the semi-final against Russia, the first half ended goalless, but just like their previous group match, the Russians could not contain the Spanish midfield. Xavi scored the first. And goals from Dani Guizar and David Silva sealed a place in Vienna for Spain's first major final since the European Championship of 1984. One last obstacle stood in their way: Germany.
We really wanted to win this trophy for Spain. We'd not won it for 44 years. So we thought it was about time that we won it. But having to play Germany in the final, a team with great tradition, obviously makes you feel very nervous.
In a tournament of this magnitude, everyone remembers the star of the final.
Fernando Torres would be that star. Luis Aragonés placed his faith in the striker, a player he had mentored at Atletico Madrid.
It's true. He said to me that I would score 2 goals, but he fell short. I don't know whether Lahm had a miscommunication with Lehmann or not, or if he got too complacent. But that fraction of a second was enough to go around him, and then that little dink over the keeper was my only option. Perhaps on a dry pitch, the spin of the ball will have taken it wide, but it actually skids just inside the far post, and it's an amazing feeling.
It was perhaps the most important goal in Spanish football history. After 44 years of hurt, Spain were champions again.
I won't forget the moment when I spoke to Platini and he told me, I beat Spain by scoring a goal against their goalkeeper, and now, after 24 years, I'm handing the cup to Spain and to a goalkeeper.
I don't usually drink to the point of being sick, but yes, that day I had a few drinks with the boys. It was something unforgettable. I think that winning a championship after 44 years, and in the way we did it, it was just the best feeling.
Crucial to the success was Luis Aragonés, and the players knew it.
Not really a father figure. Because of his age, he's been more like a grandfather, someone we have great affection for. He was one of the few people who truly believed in us.
Aragonés chose to leave on a high. To replace him, the Spanish FA turned to Vicente del Bosque, who'd won everything at club level with Real Madrid at the turn of the century.
It was the best time to inherit the national team. A lot of people told me that it was the worst moment, but no. I was convinced that Spain had a good squad and that it was the best moment to take over. It would have been awful to arrive in a moment of defeat after another failure by the national team. We had to refresh and change a few things. One of the figures of 2008 was Marcos Senna. Marcos Senna was a vital player for Spain back then. He didn't come to the World Cup. It was painful for us. It was a very painful decision. But Sergio Busquets had appeared.
Del Bosque's first target was to build on Spain's European success and go on to world domination. And the philosophy of the national team would be in line with Pep Guardiola's revered Barcelona. Pedro, Gerard Piqué and Sergio Busquets were added to the 5 Barcelona players in the Euro 2008 squad. And 2 from Barcelona were key: Andres Iniesta and Xavi Hernandez.
If we look at the key principle that a team plays how its midfield plays, I think it's true in this case. Xavi's a very clever player. He has great technique, but also great tactical awareness. He knows how to read the opponent's weaknesses. He doesn't just play on the ball, but also off the ball. He has the whole package. They're players that, as well as being extremely good, they're kids that want to keep winning more things. They're not happy with what they've achieved already. They want more, and they base their game on their technical quality. Andres, for example, in his physical capacity too. Many people say he's very weak. He's nothing special. He's not tall. He's not very strong. But I think he has a fantastic physical capacity.
He doesn't get nervous at any stage. It's like he has magnets in his feet. He's just a top-class player.
Despite winning every qualifier for the 2010 World Cup, Spain were shocked to lose their opening match in South Africa, 1-0 to Switzerland.
Even with that setback, we were always quite positive. We knew that if we won the next 6 games, we could be champions.
I talked with Vicente. We discussed what had happened, and all we could say was that it was bad luck.
We had such a beautiful chance that for many of us would probably never come again.
Spain recovered with David Villa instrumental. 2 smartly taken strikes against Honduras set him up for a key role against Chile.
I knew the ball was going to come towards me, and thank goodness it did. It arrived perfectly onto my left foot, and I saw that the goal was wide open.
It was probably the best goal of the World Cup, the most difficult one by far. A great goal by Villa that I think unnerved the Chileans.
Andres Iniesta added a second goal to set up a place in the last 16 against Portugal, where a moment of instinctive quality was the difference.
We were already deep in their half, and I started to think something might happen. Andres had the ball, and he had seen Villa make a run. I think the ball hit a defender and ran loose. I'd already seen the pass from Andres, meant for Villa, so then I backheeled it.
So Xavi touched the ball, but it was a stronger pass than I'd anticipated, and I had to change quickly to use my left. I was lucky because the rebound came to me, and with the goalie on the floor, I just dinked it over him, and it was one of the happiest moments of the World Cup for me.
The advice of substitute goalkeeper Pepe Reina then proved crucial in overcoming Paraguay.
Pepe is obsessed with analysing how the opposition take penalties.
With Oscar Cardozo, I knew how he took penalties as I'd faced a few of them. In tight, tense matches, he would always choose his safe side, and that safe side was always to the left of the goalkeeper.
With Pepe's help, I knew he would go that way.
Only a minute later, Spain were awarded a penalty of their own. Due to encroachment, the referee ordered for the kick to be retaken. The result was inevitable.
With the second penalty, you have more doubts. Should I go down the middle again, or should I go a different way?
But the drama didn't affect the Spanish mentality. Their gifted midfield carved out another opportunity for David Villa's 5th goal of the competition.
We'd overcome what had been a barrier for our national team for years, getting past the quarterfinals. I think when we broke that barrier, we broke old ways of thinking that we were inferior to other nations. We finally reached the semi-finals.
Once again, their opponents were Germany.
At half-time, Puyol told me that we had taken 3 or 4 corners already, and he said, if you put the ball near the penalty spot, I'll come running in, and we can cause a problem. And when I struck the ball, I just felt it was going where I wanted it to go. And when I saw Puyol head it, I just thought, goal. Goal.
Magic, energy, the strength of Puyol, and the rest of the team gave us the victory.
Germany and their manager Joachim Löw had been humbled.
After the match, he came to me and told me, congratulations, you're the best team in the world. Not just the best team in the world, but the best team I've ever seen.
Spain had reached their first ever World Cup final.
I've never been so nervous as I was that day. I didn't even have a siesta. Can you imagine? I was not relaxed.
You could see it from a distance. You could see the World Cup.
Historically, the total football of the Netherlands had inspired Spain. But this time around, the Dutch adopted a more physical approach.
I don't know how this is going to sound, but as the player who suffered the most fouls in the tournament, I was expecting that.
We made a substitution. Jesus Navas, I think. We wanted to give him depth and space through the right wing, because they had Van Bronckhorst playing there. He'd had a great game, but he seemed tired. He was going to retire after that game, so we thought, we should take advantage of that at that stage of the game.
Still goalless in the second half of extra time, the Netherlands were reduced to 10 men when John Heitinga was sent off. Spanish belief grew.
I think the players were more convinced than me that we were going to win. Some of them said, no, we must win it.
Navas ran 30 metres.
I dribbled all the way through the midfield, and then suddenly there was an opening.
And as it comes back to me, I backheel it to Cesc.
I pass it to Jesus.
And then I see Torres by the touchline, and I give it to him.
I see Andres getting in behind their winger. The pass isn't strong enough, and their player clears the ball.
The ball comes to me and I see Andres. I'm not saying it was easy, but it was a good position for me to make the diagonal pass.
Everything stops, and we're alone, just me and the ball. It's like when you see an image in slow motion. It was like that for me. It's difficult listening to silence, but in that moment, I listened to silence, and I knew the ball was going into the net.
He scored the goal of all goals.
At that moment, you're just speechless.
Spain had reached the pinnacle.
I looked to the sky and threw myself on the ground.
As a child, I saw Matthias, Dunga, Deschamps, Cafu and Cannavaro lifting the trophy. And so then, for Mr. Blatter to bring me the cup, and for me to raise it, was an incredible feeling.
As a child, it was my dream to play in a competition like that, where there are the best teams in the world, the best players in the world. That trophy, which you have seen so many times on TV, being lifted by great players, and now we could do the same.
They had conceded fewer goals than any previous winner. Their possession of the football had proved unbeatable. Spain had finally won the World Cup. Heading into Euro 2012, Spain were understandably favourites. Del Bosque was looking to become only the second manager after German Helmut Schön to win a World Cup and European Championship. And the absence of David Villa enforced a tactical change, the use of the so-called false nine.
We played Fabregas, who has great mobility as the one up front, but he's not your typical striker. He moved a lot, he dropped to link with our midfield, and also he had the chance to control the space where the opposition would start their attacks.
A 4-0 victory over Ireland and a 1-0 win over Croatia saw Spain top their group and face France in the quarter-final, their first competitive meeting since the World Cup in 2006. And this time, Spain had the measure of their local rivals.
I believe we controlled them quite well, and we had that bit of killer instinct too. Some players grew as the game progressed, like Jordi Alba. He improved little by little as the championship went on, and he was of vital importance in that game. We knew how to control them, and at the same time, even when we were 1-0 up, we brought on more forwards. Torres, Pedro. We played them both to try to stop the opposition from threatening our goal.
We have a great atmosphere in the dressing room. We are very united, compete very well. We have unique players, very important players in the midfield, players who are very creative, and a good defence too.
A penalty from Xabi Alonso, his second goal on his 100th appearance, capped a comfortable win, another clean sheet and a date with Portugal in the semi-final, which was decided on penalties. This time Alonso was not so successful from the spot. But João Moutinho saw his penalty saved by Iker Casillas, and Spain were 3-2 ahead when Bruno Alves hit the bar. One more successful penalty, and Spain would be finalists once again.
I was grateful to have players who wanted to take that responsibility. And it was easy. Cesc wanted to take the last penalty, and so we swapped him with Iniesta. Because he remembered the game against Italy in Vienna in 2008. So he had a great reason to argue his case. Bruno Alves' penalty hits the crossbar and comes out. Ces's penalty hits the post and goes in. Those were the details that make me believe that we were destined to be world champions before, and also to believe we were destined to be champions of Europe now.
In the final in Kiev, Spain simply overwhelmed Italy. David Silva opened the scoring before Xavi became the first player to record assists in more than one final when he released Jordi Alba. From the bench, Fernando Torres added a third to win the tournament's Golden Boot award, and Juan Mata sealed a glorious victory. In the competition's history, no team had ever scored 4 goals to win the trophy.
It was indescribable, the joy you feel when you play in a final and win it by 4 goals against a team like Italy. We won the Euros, the World Cup, and then the Euros again, which nobody had done before.
I believe, knowing our players' characteristics, that was the right way to play. We can't play any other style. Besides, why would we use another style if this one had proved to be so good for us?
I think Spain are playing very well right now because their confidence is up. Winning the Euros in 2008 was a huge relief for everyone. And then from that point, Spain started to play their best football. Everyone knows their role and how to play. I think Spain are going to carry on like this for a few more years yet.
They're so intelligent and so many quality players. They think before their opponents, and they just do things a bit differently. I believe in the last few years, they've shown they're without doubt the best national team in the world.
I believe the concept of play in Spain has been associated with a game of possession, keeping the ball and good technique. Spain has had a lot of influences. South America and the many players that came to play here. We've been influenced by coaches from abroad. But I believe the key factor is that the country has progressed a lot. We have coaches who even go abroad now. Also with players that have gone to play abroad at a very young age. We progressed by having very good facilities, or better facilities than we used to have in the past. And I believe that the education of our coaches has improved too. All those things have had a positive impact on our football.
It was just like I imagined when watching other national teams become champions on TV. And you saw their players celebrating and carrying their country's flags, surrounded by other people. And one day you dreamt of being the one in that situation. And there we were.
I cried tears of happiness after fulfilling my childhood dream. Having listened to so much nonsense, to people saying that we'd never win a World Cup, that Spain would never succeed internationally, we'd finally done it.
The truth is, we played very well. Few teams can win the World Cup and European Championship. We are living in a beautiful time for the national team. A unique pool of players that are very good. And we hope it will last a long time.
Spain is the football reference for the world, but all that came through hard work and sacrifice.
It's a feeling of doing something good for football. Not just that we'd won and made people happy, no. It was the feeling that we defined an era.